Hello, my name is Hiroaki Takahashi, and my presentation is on being a future physical educator in the field. So now, full disclosure, before I get started with the introduction, I am recovering from a cold or a flu that I've had about 5 days ago, and my voice is kind of coming back, so I have my water here just in case if I lose it throughout the presentation, so my apologies there. I've chosen the physical educator route, and I've thought about it for a while, and I've kind of solidified it by right around the time I got my started doing my master's program. And I've been doing personal training as a job for about 4 years now, since about 2019, 2020. And I've always enjoyed seeing client progression, but I've always also enjoyed the teaching aspect of the subject of kinesiology, biomechanics, exercise physiology, exercise prescription, telling the clients like these deep dive things that we've learned in our undergrad and some of us in our master's programs in previous school like ventures and whatnot. But some of these clients, they have no idea what's going on, but they start to kind of see things and click the subjects together, and that's what kind of ultimately gives me a lot of satisfaction on top of them getting to their goals. So I decided, after many years of doing this program and kind of putting off doing a master's program, to actually quote unquote full send it and do my master's program. So I'm very excited for that, but I'm also very excited to be a future physical educator in the field. Some of the leadership styles that we've covered in class have really resonated with me, but nothing has really resonated with me more than servant leadership. And what Burton et al. Says here is that servant leadership focuses on the interaction between leader and follower and emphasizes how leaders can be attentive to the needs of the follower, show concern for their followers, and nurture and emphasize their needs, the needs of their followers, And that's something that really resonates with me, and something that I really didn't realize I was doing in my career until I got to this subject, which was very serendipitous to kind of figure out, because I naturally was doing it with my clients. Oh, they have an injury, let's go ahead and tailor it to something else. Like, oh, what do you do for work? Like, oh, I'm a construction worker. All right, cool. Let's see what kind of injuries that you've got, or let's kind of tailor these exercises to what you're doing, so on and so forth, and all that other stuff that comes with personal training and their specific clientele. I didn't realize I was doing it until I got to this class, which is very cool. So that is the leadership style that really resonates with me and that I want to use going forward with my future career as a physical educator. Some of the effective styles that I've seen servant leaderships use is classroom culture, self-actualization, and being interpersonal. And we're going to dive deep into these in just a little bit. But before we do that, we're also going to present some potential issues. So not all schools are perfect. And that's understandable because, some places have hostile environments or behavioral issues of some sort from students. And that's something we as future educators will have to overcome, whether that's through our styles as servant leaders or transformational leaders, or even transactional leaders at some point. But definitely for me as a servant leader, what can I use? What kind of methods can I use that can help with these potential issues? So I'm going to continue here with applications and relationships to my career as I get a swig of water. So one of the first strategies that I just talked about is culture. And a quote from Fields et al. Here says that although students and helping professionals are typically unsure of their skill and unused to professional settings, and unused to professional settings when they begin their internships, they are embedded in the passion and desire that initially led them to the discipline. So having the culture set and ready from the educational setting can really, really help a student kind of continue on that being a student and understanding that there are potential things that we need to problem solve that have already kind of have the groundwork for from school or from my classes can really, really help in future settings. Like, for instance, myself in my undergrad program, it was very much set on continuing education, so it was a no-brainer for me to come back. And so far, it's been a very, very good, very busy, nonetheless, experience. But maintaining the culture and helping cultivating the learning environment is key in a educational setting, because if you can maintain that, they can continue on and become even better students and even better leaders in the future. So keep being a leader that you are, and keep up the high work ethic that you do and give to your students, and it will pay back tenfold. Self-actualization. Now, using this technique can help realize the full potential of your students. And if you see something that, can have the need for a little bit more cultivation or a little bit more growth in a student, helping them students realize that they can overcome this obstacle no matter how tall or how short the actual obstacle is, can really, really build a student's confidence. And using the self-actualizational tool on yourself can also help with that, kind of build that self-confidence and continue on being the great educator that you are. So using the skill sets that you have as a leader, use that on yourself and also use that on your students. A quote by Northhouse that was cited by Burton et al. Is, "When followers are cared for and empowered by servant leaders, they begin treating others the same." So you pay it forward. You pay it forward to your students. Your students will pay it forward back to your fellows, to their fellow students, which is fantastic. That's what you want, is to kind of continue the growth from within all the way out, even past your classroom, if anything, which is really cool. So being a very good servant leader, but also using the techniques like self-actualization and maintaining the culture can help grow and cultivate your learning environment even better. And finally, be interpersonal. Nobody likes a robot in a classroom. The teacher who kind of just reads off the slides and is monotone. Have your personality with you. Get to know your students. Why are they doing the major that they're doing? Why are they pursuing kinesiology? Why are they doing this kind of sport? Or why do they like lifting? Or whatever the case may be that kind of relates to the subject, but also into their lives, so that you can kind of better connect and tailor your educational style to that individual student. Or maybe multiple students kind of have that same personality trait, so that you can kind of reach your audience a lot better. A quote that I read from Canavesi and Minelli is, "It requires strong interpersonal relationship, engaging the emotional, rational, relational, and ethical dimensions of the followers." So everything, encompassing kind of everything within the students to kind of help them get the information, tailor the information to them, and kind of receive it, which is really cool. But also being compassionate, understanding that school is tough sometimes for a lot of students, and seeing that, hey, your professor sees that you're having, or your teacher is having, that your teacher kind of sees that you're having issues with life or issues with the school, issues with the class, and I'm here for you, or they're here for you, kind of as your leader, to consult with you with any kind of issues that you have, so we can help you move forward and be a better student, or kind of get through your troubles a little bit better. And that's something that I do not only for my family members, my friends, but also my clientele and hopefully my future students, which is really cool. So now, besides the potential issue of my throat, again, catching up to me, there are potential issues with servant leadership in the physical education field, and we're going to kind of dive deep into that in just a second. The first potential issue is hostile environment, and it depends on the area of the school, and where you're teaching, which is just the reality of things. You know, where you decide to teach is where you're going to have the environment that you're in, or you're going to be in the environment that you're in. And physical altercations or verbal altercations are going to happen. And what I see is that a servant leader in those type of situations, especially more towards the physical side, is going to be really tough to adhere to as a servant leader, because once it gets physical, there has to be some sort of direct and swift action to kind of de-escalate the situation. Whether that's, you know, breaking the students up or gathering help so that you can help get the students away from each other, etc., etc. That's probably one of the biggest things that I see as an issue for a servant leader. It's tough to be kind of compassionate in the moment, within the moment. Maybe afterwards for sure, but definitely sometime in the moment is really, really tough to be a servant leader, and calls for more direct action is necessary, in my opinion. These are just the truths, and not all schools are the same, and not all schools are perfect. So just understanding, hey, these are the things that we're going to have to deal with, and we're going to have to move forward with in order to be a better leader, or in order to kind of navigate the situation. The final issue I'm going to talk about is behavioral. And students' attitudes are always going to be the biggest thing. I think this is where a servant leader is going to have some potential issues, but can actually be very beneficial to be a servant leader, because you can kind of reach the students in your own way. So some students, they just don't want to be there, and that's understandable. Life is a big factor to this in some students, whether that's, you know, they're busy with work, school, family, or whatever the case may be. They just don't want to be there. And it's tough to reach students like that because they're mentally clocked out. And on the opposite end of that, students that are entitled to the answers, they want the answers to the questions, and they're not really trying to search for the answers. They just say, hey, mister, what's the answer to number 2? What's the answer to number 3? So, really seeing both sides of those is going to test you as a servant leader, in my opinion, but definitely is something that is worth a great challenge as a servant leader, and will be very fulfilling and very beneficial for not only yourself, but the student as well. So a quote that I found in the book recently is, where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in abundance of counselors, there is safety. With the abundance of servant leaders, I believe that some of these students, if not all of these students, would feel safe in this learning environment and kind of open up, or kind of start to be more open to the idea of school and the subject and the learning environment in general. And I think if us as servant leaders are going to help be serviceable for these students, like actually help these students out, it's definitely in our best interest to be counselors, to help build a safe environment for these students so that they can learn and they could grow. So in conclusion, you'll find inspiration anywhere. I found it while working as a personal trainer for 4 years. Some people might find it as soon as they get out of college, or even before they even think about going to college. Like, this is exactly what I'm going to do, and I've been inspired by X, Y, and Z. So whatever walks of life that we come from, we always will find the inspiration for it. In this class, I've definitely been more inspired to be a servant leader, and that's what I really do see fit in my career, and I really, really want to do, and really want to exude as a future educator in the field. Being compassionate, totally being understanding, is what I really do believe in. So continuing on and really holding on and getting new skill sets to be a future physical educator is key, but also understanding that you always have to be a student in the game to be the best that you can be is very crucial. So there's always more to learn. There's always a call to be a student all the time. So definitely we'll keep that in mind as we go along. And it's always been on the mind of mine and my clients, because I always repeat it to them, but definitely something that will resonate with me. Thank you for tuning into this presentation, and hopefully you guys have a